The fluorescent light of the open-plan office hummed a sterile, indifferent tune at 2:00 a.m. A solitary figure sat bathed in the glow of a monitor, coughing quietly as he typed lines of flawless code, his posture bent under the weight of an unacknowledged exhaustion. He was entirely unaware that his perfect execution, the very thing he believed would save him, was the exact reason he was about to be replaced. We find ourselves in a world where the rules we were taught rarely align with the reality we experience. Many people spend their entire lives in the workplace utterly baffled by a brutal paradox. Why does the colleague with inferior technical skills ultimately become your boss? Why is it that even if you work yourself to the point of coughing up blood, your year-end performance review still yields a mediocre B grade? When faced with this absurdity, the instinct is to blame a blind, unjust system. Yet, the painful truth is a sort of disconnect between the reality of the environment and our perception of it. You are continuously trying to apply an examination mindset to navigate what is fundamentally a jungle survival game. This phenomenon is known as workplace giant baby syndrome. 6 toxic mindsets. Cut them out before the world discards you like a dead battery. First, the illusion of the lone wolf. You must break the addiction to the lone wolf mentality. Even the ultimate elite soldier is not inherently qualified to be a natural-born general. The common linear logic dictates that because one's performance is ranked first, they deserve to be the boss. This is a profound misunderstanding of organizational structure. The worker and the leader are entirely different species. If you are the best coder in the entire company, you will likely remain a programmer for your entire life, simply because promoting you means there would be no one left to do the actual work. Consider the most heart-wrenching promotion scenario in a sales department featuring 2 candidates. Eric was the quintessential lone wolf, boasting explosive combat capabilities, ruthlessly stealing orders, arguing with finance, and clashing with operations solely for the sake of his performance. Daniel, on the other hand, only achieved 80% of Eric's performance. However, Daniel maintained polite and cordial relationships with everyone. Finance was willing to give him the green light, and operations willingly cooperated with his campaigns. Ultimately, the boss promoted Daniel. When Eric protested this perceived injustice, the boss offered a singular, piercing truth. Promotion is about replicating ability, not about allowing one person to fight alone. Daniel could unite people to work, whereas Eric only made everyone else lose their motivation. The realization, the core competency of those in higher positions is not operation, but connection. A blade that only sharpens itself stays a blade forever. 2. The purity complex we must cure ourselves of moral misophobia. A place devoid of politics is merely a graveyard. As long as resources remain scarce, the distribution of those resources will inevitably involve a game of leverage, and this very process is what we call politics. When year-end budgets are due, the naive, honest worker believes that as long as his proposal is good, the funds will naturally be approved. He revises his plan 10 times and submits it in silence. The clever worker, however, has already invited the finance director for coffee, figured out the available capital pool, and negotiated advance benefit exchanges with key departments. The result is entirely predictable. The clever worker's budget is fully approved, while the honest worker's proposal is shelved, leaving him to bitterly curse the system's dark corruption. Arguably, perhaps this is the most important part of our cognitive reconstruction. Mature individuals understand that chaos is the normal state of affairs, and achieving balance is the true goal. The worldly wisdom and social pleasantries that you look down upon are, in fact, the only lubricant capable of keeping this broken machine running. Yes, the small talk you look down on is the only oil keeping this broken machine running. Balance is the goal, not purity. Third, the tragedy of silent sacrifice. We must abandon the delusion of silent, moving sacrifice. Suffering in silence is the greatest scam of the workplace, serving only to move yourself while sickening your actual life. Look at the quiet tragedy of old Harry in the IT operations department. He ordered blessings daily and fixed bugs in the middle of the night without ever uttering a word about it. Because the company went a year without a single incident, the boss assumed the network was simply naturally stable. In contrast, the newly arrived little Dan wrote a comprehensive fault review and risk avoidance report every single time he fixed a bug. Even if he merely rebooted a server, he documented it as though he had single-handedly averted a nuclear disaster. When year-end layoffs arrived, old Harry was let go and little Dan was retained. The lesson here is deeply tied to the human condition. A boss is not a benevolent caretaker. A boss is an investor who looks exclusively at financial statements, not at how hard you worked. Fourth, binary opposition. We must eliminate binary opposition. Children categorize the world into right and wrong, but adults calculate pros and cons. Morality is merely the baseline, but the methods we employ determine our ceiling. Perhaps you despise old Gary from the neighboring department, but your current project requires his cooperation. The giant baby chooses a Cold War, proudly declaring, "I disdain associating with you." The result is a delayed project and taking the blame. How does an expert handle this? They hand over a cigarette, call out, "Brother Gary," and when the project succeeds, they ensure old Gary is praised as a hero. Deep down, the expert might still look down on old Gary, but they successfully advance their foundation. The workplace is not a contest to elect moral role models. It is a search for survival allies. To survive long-term, one must hold Buddha in their heart, but keep a blade in their hand. Fifth, the illusion of futures discard futures thinking. When you are told, "Work hard, and next year you'll get a promotion, a raise, and stock options," you should only listen passively. Whoever actually believes this is a massive fool. Consider the technical director at a startup who was fed empty promises and granted 5% in options. He endured low pay for 2 brutal years until the product finally became a massive hit, and then? The proxy holding agreement was quietly altered, and his 5% was diluted into worthless waste paper. Remember this fiercely. In the commercial world, a promise with no contract, a gain not in your hand today, both are thin air. Sixth, the reptilian brain. Finally, you must conquer your reptilian brain. Displaying raw emotion is a strict taboo for the strong. When an executive is publicly berated by the boss for half an hour during a meeting, an ordinary person would have long since suffered a mental breakdown. But that executive takes notes with a smile and submits a revised plan immediately after the meeting concludes. This is not a lack of dignity, it is because he has calculated the cost. If he flips out, his stock options vanish. If he endures it, his chances of winning remain intact. You must operate yourself as an infinite liability company. A CEO cannot simply shut down operations just because they are in a bad mood. In the big picture, the world is undeniably cruel, but it is also profoundly fair. It brutally punishes naivety and generously rewards clarity. Regardless, this does not mean we are helpless victims in this corporate absurdity. You only truly gain the right to sit at the table when you stop fantasizing about being rescued. If you want to secure your piece of meat in a world where wolves are many and resources are few, sheer ruthlessness is never enough. You must possess strategy. You must install the operating system of a winner and stop using a student's mindset to solve the complex equations of the professional world. Once you do, you will realize a quiet, redemptive truth. The people walking ahead of you aren't inherently more ruthless. They just stopped using a child's framework to understand a chaotic world long before you did. Stop waiting for the system to validate your suffering. It depends on you.